Call Her Daddy podcast hosts have turned on each other. Call Her Daddy, one of the biggest podcasts in the world.
Yep.
If not the biggest. They're always top 3 on the charts. We had Sophia and Alex on this podcast. We love them. They're our friends. They're hilarious. I believe in them both thoroughly. And Mike comes to me yesterday and he says there's some beef going on. So I actually don't know that much about it. So they got in an argument with each other first, or something with a contract, or
you don't know, but you do know. We like.
I know. I tell you what I know. I know what I know.
Okay. It's been pretty known news for a long time that the contract between Barstool and the Call Her Daddy girls was, let's call it, lopsided in Barstool's favor. Okay.
Let me chime in here.
Go ahead.
So much in a way that made me viscerally gag when I.
Okay. Well, let's go back. So
no, I'm not done yet.
What's a visceral gag look like?
A visceral gag is like this. When I found out what this was, I go, but I have to see both sides, because although the contract wasn't necessarily fair, when Barstool picked up Call Her Daddy, it was nothing.
It was nothing.
Call Her Daddy became Call Her Daddy because of Barstool.
That is the biggest thing.
So how much? But
TV station does the same.
yeah,
Yes.
Every network, every TV station does the
Same
same
thing.
It's the same model. Jake did it with Team 10, and in the corporate world, TV. Traditional media, it works, but when you apply a Jake type Team 10 model with it, and now you have like personalities getting involved, which is kind of interesting because there's a little bit of a parallel between what's happening between Portnoy and the girls and everything that happened with Jake and the falling out and all Team 10. And every social media house in LA has experienced this phenomenon that we are about to describe.
Yeah. Listen, basically what happened here is Barstool, since day one, has owned the IP for this. It's been Barstool intellectual property, which for people who don't understand, it means Barstool owns the show. And these girls are, and everything behind it and everything that goes into it, these girls are simply, the way the contract was originally signed, are simply personalities or hosts of said show. And what happened was, I think, and I'll speak from my own, personal experience with this kind of thing. When you go into this agreement and you have nothing, you have nobody, you have no fans, you're just a little person, and you see this massive entity like Barstool, you agree to what they're giving you, because you assume that, my guess is Alex and Sophia go in, they see this contract, and they're like, this is Barstool Sports. We're not going to do any better. They're going to give us a fair shake. We're not getting that much money, but let's give it a shot. Maybe it blows us up. And what happens? The show takes off.
Yep.
Meteoric rise. They become the biggest show ever in 6 months. Yep. Mm-hmm. And now, just like with so many other people in Hollywood and so many other times that this has happened, they go back and they say, this contract isn't fair. It happens all the time.
Jeff's coming
Jeff's
in.
hopping
Manager
in.
Jeff's
No,
coming
Jeff's
in.
hopping in.
He's got opinions.
Is
He
there a
got something
mic?
to say.
Is there a mic there?
I'll share.
So let me just finish at what happened on the show last night. So basically, after the first year was up, Portnoy said basically that he's willing to renegotiate, which he's always been very good about. He's willing to renegotiate the contract with the two girls. And after a bunch of back and forth, he offers them, I think it was like $500,000 each. Plus, they're going to own the IP. They are now going to own the show.
It's massive.
50-50. Now for Portnoy
so they have one more year to go though. They
Right,
have
they have
another
to finish
12
out
months.
their
But
contract.
he kept alcohol. I like it.
Right. So so for anybody that doesn't know who Dave Portnoy is, this guy, let's just put it this way, he doesn't need the fucking money. He doesn't need the fucking money, okay? But he does like the idea that the show is keeping the lights on at Barstool. It's during the COVID. It's bringing in money, it's paying employees, whatever. He likes that, okay? So he offers them $500K annual each and 50% each of the IP after their contract ends. Alexandra comes back and says basically, okay, I like this idea. But according to last night's show, Sophia, who has this boyfriend, what's his name again?
The Yoko Ono podcast.
They call him the suit or whatever.
I want to say it's Matthew Rice.
No, something Nelson. It's something Nelson.
He's a big dog, right?
Big dog in like the suit,
yeah.
whatever, right? So what they're saying is that he's basically leading her away from this deal and towards another platform, right? So she comes back and she says, I'm not taking that deal. So now they're split. And neither of them can agree to go back in at 50% of the IP. So Portnoy and Alex have this conversation, and Sophia's not willing to come to the table. And Dave says, all right, well, I'll do the show with just you.
Yeah.
Because you do the majority of the editing, and majority of the heavy lifting,
I own
whatever, right? And no. And I will give you whatever amount of money it is, plus you'll get 75% of the IP, and Barstool will retain 25%. And so Alex says, okay, I'm going to get 3/4 now. This is great. Now, Sophia finds out that Alex is getting 75% of the IP, and Sophia says, wow, this is really happening. I'm about to get left in the dust here with just Peter Nelson left.
But he did say he offered her own show.
He offered her own show on the side.
Said if you're talent and you're good, then you'll be successful too.
Right. And basically she said, you'll talk to my lawyers is basically what happened, right?
And the lawyers aren't responding. And
now it's a whole mess. And so there's no agreement. It's a fucking mess. It is a complete mess.
Yeah.
And it's ever since the show aired last night, and obviously we've been trying to follow it, in the background. It just made me think about how we all approach new contracts and new ventures. When I was tiny, and in a lot of ways I still am, I approach ventures with big dogs like, yo, they're giving me a chance. They're giving me. But in this digital age, you have to understand the possibility that your shit will blow the fuck up. And you should approach I said this today, you should start approaching every contract with the possibility at least that this thing takes off and goes to the moon.
But he came to the table and said, I'm going to renegotiate and give you guys a good deal. Like, I respect that.
He did
That's
great.
what happens. That
I
happens
love
in television
Portnoy.
shows too.
Yo, that dude's the executive VP of HBO Sports.
Was.
According to this,
is?
the participle
no.
they use is a present participle. It's is.
Oh.
Peter Nelson is the executive vice president of HBO Sports.
And so Dave put the podcast out on the Call Her Daddy
Loved
channel, promoted it from the Call Her
Loved it.
Daddy Instagram.
Wow.
Like, yo, this dude owns the IP.
He's actually
got this.
great. I actually
Don't
have
tell
to say
me.
he's great.
Don't tell. I'm a huge Portnoy fan. You know that. I watch
a fan.
every unboxing.
I hate to say this. Is not a present participle. I have to correct myself.
Good job. What is it?
I think it's an article. Continue your conversation.
You can ask Bill Clinton.
Did you see what he also pulled off with the NFL and Goodell? You know the whole situation,
Oh, he
right? He was,
bought
he was thrown out of the NFL. He was thrown out of the
He
Super Bowl.
won the $250,000 raffle to watch a game with him, right?
He outbid everybody
Motherfucker.
for $250,000, and he's going to sit with the head of the NFL.
Listen, Portnoy on the East
amazing.
Portnoy on
It's
the East
amazing.
Coast, where you and I both come from, is a legend.
He's
The
great.
Boston area is a legend. When I go to Nantucket during the summer, he's there. He's a legend on Nantucket. The dude is a animal in so many ways. But it looks like, and from the sounds of it, this was a truthful piece last night. He gave these girls a fair shake, and I mean, they're very talented, and everybody knows that. But this is a mess. I'm really interested in seeing how
What do you
this
think
plays
happens?
out.
Here's what makes me the most upset about it. That I don't know what their friendship is like behind the scenes, but that sucks. To lose a friendship over this fucking fickle bullshit.
Does it help to
Happens
air
a-
all this stuff out? Like behind the scenes contracts and stuff. Does it help anyone, or does it just hurt both sides?
Well,
gave it all out. He said, "I'm telling
No,
the
I think
truth."
that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
You mean Portnoy
I mean,
talking
does it
about
hurt Dave? Does it hurt-
Transparency is your friend here. With anything contracts, contractual, transparency is your friend.
That's what he said too.
What do you say?
He said, I'm being truthful. Like,
Yeah.
people say, oh, you can't talk about this. No, he's like, I'm telling the truth. Like,
Dave said on the show, I don't think that the deal was abnormally lopsided. Dave said on the show last night that in year one, Alex made upwards of $500,000 and Sophia made around the same. Those are massive
Bonuses.
Those are bonuses on downloads. What? Are you saying the numbers are off? I have sources that have told me that the numbers are on.
Do you know how much money they should be making?
That's
personally?
neither here nor there.
Okay,
That's
okay.
neither here
you
nor
signed
there.
a contract.
You
when
signed
you started.
a contract.
And they also had,
hey,
I'm just,
hey,
yeah,
guy.
we're just talking.
I get it.
We're talking.
I get it. Oh, no, I get it. You signed a contract. You got to honor that contract. But unfortunately, it's really unfortunate.
Unfortunate,
is.
but hold on. He
Rookie
didn't
contracts
when Dave signed it, he didn't know it was going to do what it did either. It just so happened to do it. Listen, I think that you talk to them, and I think that you I'm guessing this. You put this seed in their mind. You sabotaged the Call Her Daddy podcast, in a way that drove more views to the Impaulsive podcast. And I want to be the first one to say this right now. That was that was an incredible move. I love it.
Check us out, bro. David Dobrik stops vlogging. I start vlogging. No YouTuber can move merch. I relaunch mine. Call Daddy's no longer a podcast. Impaulsive stays number 1. I don't know, bro. This game is chess, not checkers. This is fucking chess, not checkers, bro. Nah, but I hope they figure everything out. Obviously, they're good friends of ours, and I hate the fact that a real life friendship, because those girls love each other, may have been severed because of this.
Would or could, final note from me, we've talked a lot about a female co-host. Does a day come where we're sitting across from Alexandra Cooper, Sophia dates big head man?
Yeah,
person.
it's my number 1 wish in the world.